There's a quiet kind of loneliness no one talks about. The one that lingers in a woman's body when she's gone too long without being truly held. You wake up with the quiet. There's no one beside you. No hand to trace the curve of your back. No breath mingling with yours in the hush of morning light. But the stillness, it's more than physical. It hums beneath your skin. A longing, a soft ache. Not just for touch, but for being seen, felt, cherished. You make your coffee. The cup is warm, but it doesn't warm you. Not in the way that a look once did. Not in the way that a whisper against your neck could unravel the walls you forgot you built. And maybe no one knows. Maybe you smile just fine. Maybe you laugh at brunch and send hearts on group texts. Maybe you light candles at night to make the silence look romantic. But the ache, it's still there. This isn't about sex. Not just that. This is about intimacy. About being met where you truly live. Inside your soul. Not just under your clothes. When a woman stays without intimacy, without deep, safe, sacred connection, something begins to shift. Not all at once, but slowly, like petals closing at dusk, like rivers that dry not from one day without rain but many. She becomes quieter. Not peaceful, quiet. Her laughter feels a bit farther from her heart. Her hips hold tension that once danced. Her smile stays on longer than it needs to, as if to convince someone, anyone, that she's fine. But inside, she misses the mirror of another's gaze. The kind that reflects not just beauty, but being. And it's not just about the presence of a man. It's about the loss of energy, of resonance, of communion. Something feminine begins to starve. Because a woman's heart, her deepest feminine essence, thrives on connection. Not chaos, not need, not desperation, but intimacy, shared energy, emotional presence. The way two souls braid in quiet understanding. The way her softness calls his depth, and his depth protects her softness. Without it, she begins to question. Not out loud, but in those in-between moments. In the silence after the music. In the pause between messages that never come. In the way she starts to wonder if maybe she's asking for too much. But she's not. She never was. You see, Carl Jung once said that the longing we feel is not weakness. It's calling. It's the soul's compass. The ache you feel when you crave intimacy is not a flaw. It's divine. It's proof you still feel, that you still believe. And still, you learn to live around it. You channel it into work, into cleaning the kitchen, into productivity, into overgiving. Because if you pour yourself into everything else, maybe you won't notice what you're not receiving. Maybe if you stay busy enough, you won't feel the longing echo in your chest when you lie down at night. But the body remembers. The womb remembers. Even the skin remembers. What it means to be held. What it means to be wanted in a way that isn't hungry, but reverent. And when it's been too long, you might notice you start to harden. Not because you want to, but because you had to. You become your own protector. You become your own container. And that's powerful. That's sacred. But sometimes it's lonely too. This is not your fault. This is not weakness. You are not too emotional. You are not too sensitive. You are tuned in to energy, to frequency, to the subtle language the world tries to forget. You are a woman who feels, who remembers, who was built for connection, not transaction. But here's the secret the world rarely tells you. Intimacy doesn't begin in his hands. It begins in your own. True connection starts when you return to yourself. When you stop abandoning your own heart, waiting for someone else to validate its beat. Because when a woman stays without intimacy, she either begins to crumble, or she begins to awaken. And sometimes it's both. First, she shatters, then she rebuilds. But this time, with gold between the cracks. This time, she remembers that her worth never lived in someone else's gaze. It was always hers. You are not unloved because you're untouched. You are not broken because you crave closeness. You are not too much. You are the ocean, and intimacy is the tide. So let's begin with this. Place your hand on your chest, Close your eyes. Feel the rhythm inside you. That's love. That's intimacy. That's where it begins. And when it's been a long time since someone touched you with reverence. Touch yourself with reverence. Not in lust. In love. Wrap your arms around your shoulders. Whisper your name like a spell. Tell your heart, I see you. I hear you. I've missed you. Because when a woman stays without intimacy, it is not just the absence of another. It is the forgetting of herself. And now, you begin to remember. You remember the weight of your gaze in the mirror. You remember the way your own fingertips can offer safety. You remember how to speak gently to the little girl inside who just wanted to be held. This is the moment you stop waiting. Not in bitterness, not in fear, but in power. Because now you know you are not empty, you are full, you are not lacking. You are ready. And when you walk into a room from this place, this aligned, alive, radiant place, the universe listens. The masculine feels it. The world responds to your frequency long before you ever say a word. There is nothing wrong with you for desiring intimacy. But don't mistake desire for depletion. Don't confuse longing with lack. You can yearn and still be whole. You can achieve and still walk in beauty. And the more you return to yourself, the more your energy begins to shift. Your vibration rises, your aura softens, your voice deepens, and you begin to attract, not chase. You begin to magnetize, not beg. Because a woman who touches her soul awakens her light. And that light is what intimacy was always meant to meet. So for now, breathe. Feel. Let the tears come if they need to. Tears are holy, they are the body's poetry. This is not the end of your intimacy. This is the return. The return to your breath. The return to your rhythm. The return to your soul. And in the stillness, you will feel it. The energy shift. The sacred remembering. The vibration of your feminine essence rising like a tide that will never be silenced again. Because even if no one else holds you tonight, you now know how to hold yourself. And that, beloved, is where it all begins. Some days, the H hides well. It wears lipstick. It wears high heels. It gets through meetings and errands and dinner with a practiced smile. But at night, when the lights are low and the body quiets, something stirs again. Not just the craving for touch, but the deeper longing underneath thee. To merge. To melt into someone who doesn't just hold your hand, but holds space. To feel seen in the way that doesn't just flatter, but nourishes. And yet you've survived without it. You've learned how to self-soothe, how to whisper yourself to sleep with thoughts of maybe someday, maybe someone. And you've learned to hold your own storms without anyone pulling you back from the edge. That's strength. It's beautiful, but it's also heavy. Because while independence is a triumph, sometimes it's just a mask for the loneliness no one knows how to name. Sometimes it's a performance for a world that shames women who want, who need, who desire softness, safety, closeness. But let me say it clearly, softly, so it reaches your bones. There is no shame in your ache. There is no guilt in your desire to be touched, not roughly, but reverently. Your craving is not dirty, it's sacred. You are not just body, you are energy. And when you've gone too long without real intimacy, your energy folds in on itself. Your light dims, not because you're broken, but because you are starving for resonance. The kind of resonance that doesn't just enter your body, but enters your frequency. The kind that breathes with you. The kind that listens to your silence. The kind that feels like home. You are not weak because you remember what it feels like to have someone look at you like you're made of stardust and fire. You are not foolish because your skin still tingles at the memory of a kiss that felt like prayer. When a woman stays without intimacy, her emotional world can grow quiet, but not peaceful quiet, disconnected quiet. She may begin to doubt her own beauty, not her appearance, but the beauty of her essence, the beauty of being received, not just looked at but felt. And slowly, something in her feminine begins to close. Because femininity is not just about softness or curves or elegance. It's openness, it's vulnerability, it's trust. And when no one meets you there, you start to mistrust your own need to be met. You shut the doors to the temple before anyone can fail to enter again. But that's not who you are. That's who you became in a world that didn't know how to hold you right. So you learned to hold yourself. You became sacred soil and burning sky. You became water and warrior. You became a goddess who stopped asking to be worshipped and built altars within her own soul. But still, you miss the warmth of another's press to yours. And it's okay. It's okay to miss that, to itchy for that, to wish for that. It does not mean you are desperate. It means you are alive. There is a vibration in every woman, a frequency so magnetic it draws in entire galaxies of attention. But that frequency begins to slip when we no longer feel desired, not because we are losing our power, but because we forget how powerful it really is. The longer you go untouched, the easier it becomes to disconnect from that inner current. The current that says, I am worthy of being loved with presence, not pressure. I am worthy of being seen for who I am beneath the surface. I am worthy of slow kisses and slow mornings and soul-deep connection. But here's the wisdom no one taught us. You can awaken your intimacy without anyone else. You can reignite your feminine essence by turning inward, by softening into yourself, by speaking to your body like it's holy again, because it is. The feminine is energy before it's anything else. It's how you pour your tea. It's how you rest your hand on your chest when you're overwhelmed. It's how you forgive yourself for all the years you thought you needed to be harder, louder, faster, just to feel worthy. But your softness is not the enemy. It's your power. It's your medicine. And when there is no intimacy from another, you must return to the most sacred relationship of all, the one between you and you. So breathe, beloved. Close your eyes. Exhale your armor. Unclench your jaw. Let yourself imagine, what would it feel like to be loved without having to earn it? What would it feel like to be wanted without having to prove your value? What would it feel like to be chosen just as you are? Feel that. Let your nervous system taste it. Let your body remember it's still possible. Because in the language of the universe, what you imagine with emotion becomes a seed of reality. This is how you shift your frequency. You begin with feeling. You begin with vision. You begin with self-devotion. Light candles not to summon someone else, but to invite yourself home. Journal your desires not to confess weakness, but to honor your truth. Dance with your eyes closed not for performance, but to reconnect to the rhythm inside you. Because feminine magnetism is not about being looked at. It's about being in tune with life, with spirit, with soul. And the more you rise in that frequency, the more intimacy becomes inevitable. Because your outer world always bends to match your inner vibration. And yes, the body still remembers. The nights of longing, the hours spent scrolling through old messages, through old photos, through what once was and could have been. But memory is not a chain. It can be a compass. Let it guide you not into despair, but into alignment. Ask yourself, what kind of intimacy do I truly desire? What kind of love honors my softness, my strength, my soul? What kind of energy do I want to invite into my temple? Because you are not just waiting. You are preparing your vibration, preparing your container, preparing your soul. And preparation is powerful. It's sacred when done with joy. It's magnetic when done with peace. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're not being punished. You are being readied. Sometimes the universe delays the presence of another so that you remember the presence of yourself. So that when love arrives, you receive it without shrinking, without losing yourself again. Because you now know, intimacy begins in your own gaze, in your own breath, in your own self-holding. And the more you hold yourself, the more you awaken that sacred, invisible signal, the one that calls in only what aligns, the one that filters out the noise, the one that says, "This woman is rooted. This woman is radiant. This woman remembers who she is." You don't need to chase touch. You need to embody truth. And from that embodiment, everything else will flow. You've gone long enough without sacred connection, but connection begins in you today. Now, in this breath, let it be slow, let it be sensual, let it be soul-led. Hold your heart, speak your desires, call your spirit back. You are not too much. You never were. You are the storm and the stillness, the H and the answer. And even without another's hands, you are never untouched, because the divine still lives in you, because your own love was always the one you were waiting for. Let that truth sink in. Let it cradle you. Let it remind you, this is not the end of your story. This is the healing middle. This is the place where you rise. This is where your vibration shifts. This is where you stop begging for breadcrumbs and start preparing for the feast. You are not without love. You are becoming the source of it. There comes a moment, often in the quiet, often when no one is watching, when a woman finally stops waiting, not in bitterness, not in resignation, but in deep, soft, sovereign truth. She sits with her own silence and realizes that this emptiness she feared wasn't empty at all. It was sacred space. Space meant for her own return. When a woman stays without intimacy, her world begins to slow. And in that slowing, she learns to listen. To the whispers beneath the noise. To the pulse beneath the H. To the voice she once silenced because it longed for too much, felt too deeply, hoped too wildly. But that voice, it was never foolish. It was never naive. It was never wrong for wanting closeness. It was alive, and it still is. You still are. So now, you choose. You choose to honor the H instead of hide it. You choose to lean into the loneliness, not as punishment, but as a portal. Because the absence of intimacy can be a profound spiritual initiation if you let it. It is an initiation into self-recognition, into energetic sovereignty, into feminine awakening. You stop searching for someone else to see you and start seeing yourself with new eyes. Not eyes of lack, but eyes of reverence. Eyes that finally understand. You were never missing anything. You simply forgot how sacred your own soul was. And when you stay long enough without being touched, you begin to crave more than touch. You begin to crave truth, presence, alignment, vibration. And suddenly, cheap attention won't do. Shallow love won't do. Half-hearted connection won't do. Because now you remember what you deserve. Not in theory, but in your bones. Now, when someone enters your space, you notice everything. Their energy, their frequency. Because you've spent enough nights alone to know how peace feels. And you will never again trade that peace for chaos that comes dressed as passion. This is what happens when a woman turns her HE into alchemy. When she stops chasing warmth and becomes the fire. When she stops asking for love and becomes love itself. You begin to vibrate at a new level. A level where you don't beg to be chosen. You choose, with grace, with power, with presence. You become the one who decides what energy is allowed to enter your temple. Not from fear, but from fullness. Because you are no longer the woman who tolerates what drains her. You are the woman who protects what restores her. You build your life not around the absence of a man, but around the presence of your own soul. You decorate your days with joy. You fill your time with beauty. You walk barefoot in the grass, letting the earth remember you, letting your body remember her wildness. You no longer apologize for being sensual, for being soft, for being powerful in your longing. Because you now know, your longing is not a burden, it's a compass. It's what leads you home. And slowly, so gently, you begin to feel different. The mirror reflects a woman who is no longer waiting. She is welcoming, not desperately, but magnetically. She smiles differently. Her laughter is deeper. Her movements more fluid, like someone who no longer rushes because she trusts. Trusts that what is meant for her is already finding its way. Trusts that intimacy is her birthright, not a prize she has to earn. Trusts that the universe responds not to her pain, but to her power. So she writes, she dances, she breathes in the sunlight. She lets herself feel sensual again, not for anyone else, but for herself, because her body is not a battlefield. It's a garden, and she is done waiting for someone else to water it. She waters it herself now, with love, with patience, with sacred rituals, with gentle affirmations whispered in candlelight. She says, I am safe in my body. I am held by the universe. I am magnetic to love, because I am love. And the more she repeats it, the more she believes it, because the subconscious listens, because her energy shifts, because her life begins to mirror what she finally believes she's worthy of. And the world changes. People begin to respond differently. Strangers look longer. Friends comment on her glow. The masculine begins to show up, not to complete her, but to meet her. Because when a woman fills her own well, only those who can overflow with her will remain. You become a mirror for the kind of love you've always desired. Not the love that takes, not the love that performs, but the love that holds, witnesses, stays. And when that love arrives, if it arrives, you receive it not from desperation, but from discernment, because you are no longer starving. You are satisfied. You are no longer shrinking. You are sovereign. This is what happens when a woman goes without intimacy and finds herself instead. She comes home. She heals. She awakens. She returns to her softness not as weakness, but as her truest power. And even if no one has touched her in months, she radiates a sensuality that cannot be faked. Because it doesn't come from touch. It comes from presence, from alignment, from being deeply, wildly, unapologetically herself. So if today you feel alone, if today you feel untouched, if today you wonder if love will ever find you again, remember this: you are not untouched. You are not unloved. You are not forgotten. You are a woman in sacred preparation. You are a soul in vibrational ascension. You are a heart being cleansed of all that was too small to hold you. You are intimacy, in its purest, most powerful form. And every breath you take in wholeness becomes a beacon, a signal to the universe that you are ready to receive, not from emptiness, but from overflow. So don't numb the H. Don't run from the quiet. Sit with it. Let it shape you. Let it show you who you truly are when no one else is defining you. You are a sacred being. Your body is a sanctuary. Your emotions are holy. And your longing is the thread that leads you back to yourself. So touch your own skin like it's sacred silk. Speak to your own heart like it's your first love. Hold yourself in the dark like a mother holds a sleeping child. Because in doing so, you become the kind of woman who no longer fears the absence of intimacy, but uses it to rise. You are rising now. You are returning now. And you are remembering the truth. No silence can erase. You are already worthy. You are already whole. You are already home. If these words are touching something deep inside you, if this space feels like a home your soul has been waiting for, subscribe now. And let's keep walking this journey together.